session that I've got recording on right now. And if everyone would go ahead and mute themselves, and then we're going to have a Q&A session at the end. So when we're all done with this segment, feel free to unmute yourself, ask a question, either on this training topic or any other topic you so desire. So I'm going to go ahead and minimize our whole thing here. Take that off the screen. Well, first off, I guess I should have asked, can everyone see my screen where it says, so if anyone would just unmute themselves, where it says, training will start shortly. Welcome to this month's session. And I already know you guys can hear me because we've been interacting.
Yeah.
Okay, and now we're moving into the actual title here, how to effectively and profitably respond to requests for quotes and requests for proposals from shippers. Okay. Let's go ahead and get started. Now, even though the topic is how to effectively and profitably respond to requests for quotes and requests for proposals, I want to first make something clear, and that is that if you don't do a few very basic but critically important things first, then there's no way you're truly going to be successful responding to RFQs and RFPs. I believe there are three keys to success in being able to effectively respond to requests for quotes and requests for proposals. So we're going to go over those first, and then we'll get into the nitty-gritty if anyone has actual questions, specific questions about certain types of situations. But key to success number one, and for those of you that are in the program, whether you went through our Freight Broker Academy Freight Agent program or our Freight Broker program, you know how I emphasize the importance of recruiting a massive fleet of trucks that will be at your disposal when you need them. And not only having a massive fleet of trucks, but having some critical and sortable information on where they're based, the lanes they like to travel, and their preferred rates per mile. Key to success number two, making sure you get all the critical information from a shipper about things like what they ship, how often they ship it, where they ship things to and from, and how many shipments they've got going out on average per day, per week, and per month. And if possible, and the only way it's possible is if you ask how much they've been paying per load or per mile in the past, if it's something they've been shipping, and what their target rates are for future shipments. And then success key number three is knowing how and when to use this information that you've gathered from carriers and shippers when the opportunity presents itself. So when you've gotten a formal request for a quote or proposal, or in some cases it's informal. So let's take a closer look at each of those three keys to success. So number one, again, building a massive fleet of trucks that will be at your disposal when they are needed. And that critical and sortable information on where they're based, the lanes they like to travel, and their preferred rates per mile. See, there's nothing more important to your long-term success in the freight brokerage business than following this key to success. Number one, and again, for those of you out there, especially ones that just started, it's something I emphasize. It starts by following the process that we teach here at Freight Brokers Academy to get truckers begging you to call them. By asking that magic question. Who can tell me what that magic question is? Somebody unmute themselves. There's better than half of you on this call, probably 2/3 have been through the training. You're out there. What's the magic question you ask carriers, typically on your first contact?
What lane do you like to run, I guess?
Well, that's one of the questions you might, but that's not the first question you ask, and the most important question that gets them begging you to call them again. Leaves that door open for you to call them
Hey.
anytime you want.
Can I give you a call the next time I have a good paying load in your area?
There you go. The next time I have a really good paying load in one of the areas you prefer to travel, would you like me to give you a call or send you an email to let you know about it? Bingo. And how many truckers are going to say no to that question or a question like that? Hey, there may be a few. Someone who says no to a question like that, you don't want to deal with them anyways. But most of the time, I mean, what are truckers looking for? What are trucking companies looking for? They're looking for good paying loads in the areas they already travel, their preferred lanes, near where they're based. So that's your first key to success, is making sure you get as many trucking companies and owner operators to say yes to that question. Hey, the next time I get a good paying load near where you're based or in some place where you like to travel, would you like me to give you a call or send you an email to let you know about it? Well, sure. And that leaves the door open for you to call back just about any time you want. Now, this is what you should be focused on your first 30 to 60 days. And those of you that are on this call, and I know a few of you that are within that 30 to 60 day window, this is what you should be doing most of the day. Or if you've been in the business longer, at any point in your career that you can't say that you have thousands of trucks at your disposal that have said, sure, you can call me or send me an email the next time you have a good paying load in your area. Again, not complicated. This is a very simple business, not always easy, because it takes self-discipline. It takes doing certain important things over and over again. But that's the basics. You want to develop that massive fleet of trucks that's at your disposal. And I guarantee you this is the simplest, easiest, and most effective way to do it. And what does that have to do with being able to successfully respond to requests for quotes and requests for proposals? Well, it's about getting the right info after they say, sure, you can contact me the next time you have a good paying load in your area. For example, as soon as they say that, this could be your first call. Okay, great. Well, just to clarify, what areas do you like to travel? What are your preferred lanes? You can ask a question like that, make notes. And just so I know what you consider a good paying load, what is the target rate you're looking for? If I could get it for you, what is the rate that you're typically looking for to move? And they'll tell you, minimum $3, $3.25, $3.50, whatever it is. And then you could ask a follow-up question to that, like, okay, so that's your target rate. Now let me ask you a question. If you've been sitting for a day or so in an area that's maybe not the easiest to get good paying loads, what's the minimum rate that you'd require just to get yourself moving and into a better area where you know you can get better paying loads? So what would be that minimum rate per mile you'd be looking for? And if you ask a question like that, typically someone won't have any hesitation in telling you. And there are places like here in Florida, we know if you're in South Florida, you're in Miami, there's only one direction you can go. You can't go south. You can't go east. You'll be in the Atlantic Ocean. West, there's not far to go. It's only north. And there's only so much freight in Miami, and if there's lots of trucks there, the rates are not great. And it's been that way for years. And it will be that way for years because there are limited directions you can go. So everyone knows you get stuck in South Florida somewhere, you need to just get out. And ideally, even if it's not the greatest paying load per mile or total, the goal is get me to an area where I know I can get a better paying load as quickly as possible. And there are lots of areas like that around the country. And sometimes they vary depending seasonally or geographically or by freight type or even trailer type. Some places have lots of dry van loads or flatbed loads, but maybe not much refrigerated, or vice versa. So you learn these things and you determine and you make notes. So I'm getting lots of people, lots of companies, thousands of trucking companies and owner operators that say, sure, give me a call next time you get a good paying load. And then either on that call or follow-up calls, maybe a few days later, hey, Joe, we spoke a few days ago. Couldn't get you a load then, but we talked about the next time I got a good paying load, give you a call or send you an email. Well, hey, a couple quick questions, because I may have some loads coming up soon, and I want to make sure I have the correct information so I can determine whether or not these are things you might be interested in. Do you mind if I ask you just a couple real quick questions? Again, couple real quick questions. Not going to take a lot of your time. Sure. Okay. What are your preferred lane? And just fill in the blanks. There's certain pieces of information. By the way, how many trucks do you have in your company? 5, 10, 20, 50? And how many flatbeds? How many refrigerated units? How many dry vans? Oh, you're all refrigerated units. Okay. All right. And whatever, keep filling in the blanks. That's good. Oh, and just to confirm, you are based in Cincinnati, Ohio? Okay, so obviously anytime I've got something coming to or going from a 50-mile radius to Cincinnati, Ohio, that's at least a potential thing you might be interested in. Yes? Okay. And again, your preferred rates are, or lanes are, and you keep building up information, and every additional contact, they get familiar with your name, they get familiar with your voice, they get more comfortable with you. Because again, this is not a get rich quick overnight type of business. This is a long-term relationship building kind of business. And if you do the right things on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, then every month you're in the business should get a little easier. And every month, quarter, and year should get more profitable, because you're going to keep building. The first key is get a trucking company the first load. Get a shipping company to give you the first load to find a truck for. And then ideally, you want to be the go-to provider for all the loads for that trucking company, but that doesn't happen overnight. It starts with the first load. Ideally, you want to be the go-to agent or broker for every shipping company you're working with, that they call you before anybody else to see if you have trucks for their loads, but that doesn't happen right off the bat. That's what you hope you get to a year or 2 years down the road, but it starts with very simple and specific little things that you build on. So, key to success number one in being successful in responding to rate quotes and making a lot of money, build that massive fleet of trucks. And then we move on to key to success number two. When you actually receive a request for a quote or request for proposal, well, you must make sure you get all the critical information from a shipper. So you don't just let them tell you, okay, hey, I got a load coming up in a couple days. See if you can find me some trucks or a truck. Or what would you charge me for this particular kind of load? Well, you're going to need a lot more information than that. Again, you need the information on what it is they're shipping and how often they ship it. Even if they're only asking about one load for right now, you want to know things like, well, is this something that you have coming out of your facility regularly or coming into your facility? You know, where are you shipping it from? Where do you ship it to? Do you have multiple locations? And I just, for future reference, is this just a one-time kind of thing, specialized, or is this something you ship on a regular basis? And where is it that you need it shipped to? And is that a location you ship to on a regular basis? And do you do these kind of shipments to other locations? How many shipments per day? How many shipments per week? How many shipments per month? And I usually, one of the last questions I ask after I've gotten all this other information is, well, just out of curiosity, since you told me this is something you do ship on a semi-regular basis, and this is not the first time you've done this, how much have you been paying per load for this shipment? I mean, for whatever reason, they're giving you a shot now. Maybe the trucking company they used to use doesn't have a truck available right now, or won't move for the same rate they used to because diesel fuel prices have doubled. So this is where you're going to get some opportunities, because many of the trucking companies and owner operators that shippers used to deal with for a long time will not move now for the same rates that they used to. So this is where you should be having lots of opportunities if you're making enough contacts and if you're asking the right questions and doing the right things. So you want to find out how much they've been paying per load or per mile, and you make note of that. Oh, and or if they can't say that, well, we never did this load before, this is a new one. Okay, well, did you have a target rate in mind? Again, we're kind of negotiating. They're asking you, well, how much would you charge me? And you want to throw that back at them, because usually the first one to throw out a number in negotiation loses. And you may have heard that before in sales in general. So you always want to see if they're thinking about what they'd like to pay, as much or less. So it should, hey, just curious, did you have a target rate in mind? I used to use that phrase all the time. And guess what? 90% of the time, even if they don't tell you, people you're talking to do have a target rate. Owner operators have a target rate in mind all the time that they'd like to get. Trucking companies have a target, the owners of the companies have a target rate in mind that they'd like to get per mile before any of their trucks move. And shippers, shipping managers, freight managers, whoever your contact is, they've got a target rate in mind that they would like to pay maximum or less. And it's amazing if you ask a question like, hey, did you have a target rate in mind for this shipment per mile or total? And then just shut up and listen and see what they say. And say, no, I didn't really have a target rate in mind. Okay, well, have you ever, what are you used to paying per mile for other types of shipments like this? Rephrase the question. If they don't have a target rate in mind, they should find out what they've been paying for other types of shipments similar to this. Because if you can get a number from them, at least it gives you an idea. So that when you go back to your carriers on the next step, you can determine if you've got somebody in the ballpark. You got a ballpark figure from your shipper, no commitment. They're not making a commitment. You're not making a commitment. And then as you go through and you ask, or the information you've already recorded in your database, you start sifting through your Excel spreadsheet or your logistics software, and you could say, okay, I got the target rate or what they've been paying in the past. Now let me go through all my trucks in and around Cincinnati, Ohio, or wherever, and let me see if any of them have a preferred rate or a minimum rate that's anywhere in the range of what the shipper just told me their target rate is. So again, if you ask the right questions and you ask them of enough prospects and you record that information in an organized and sortable fashion, then it will make your job easier and more efficient by simply sorting a spreadsheet or doing a report in your logistics software, doing a query. Okay, give me a report of all flatbed trailers within a 100-mile radius of Cincinnati, Ohio, where I have minimum or target rates within 20 cents a mile of X. And X is whatever your shipper just told you their target rate was, or what they've been paying per mile. And you sort that, you run the report, and out of your thousands of trucks that are at your disposal, maybe 2 come up. So you don't have to sort through manually thousands of trucks. But the more trucks you have, the more trucking companies you have and owner operators that you've gotten that question answered. Yeah, sure, give me a call next time you get a good paying load. And you've gotten the basic information, what their target rates are, what their minimum rate would be to move. If they've been sitting for a while, then the more likely you're going to have a match. And that's where we go here into the third key to success, where we utilize that massive fleet of trucks that you've developed and match up the needs and desires of your shipper with the needs and desires of one or more of the trucking companies in your database. So again, you sort that database based on locations, trailer types, etc., just like I mentioned. And then you start contacting the short list of trucking companies based on the matches you find. And the short list will be longer the bigger your database. So again, that's why the key to success, one of the basics, is numbers, having the law of averages on your side. And those of you that have gone through our training programs know that. We emphasize that over and over. Contact as many carriers as you can each and every day. Contact as many shippers as you can each and every day. Keep building your database so that when you get an opportunity, you get a shipper that says, okay, glad you called today. Good timing. I just had my normal trucking company say they don't have any trucks in the area and I got a shipment I need picked up. Here's the deal. If you could help me with this shipment, I'll give you an opportunity to get a whole bunch more business. And if you've been doing the things you need to do, building up your massive fleet of trucks and getting that important, critical, sortable information, how many trucks, how many, do they have flatbeds, do they have refrigerated units, do they have dry vans, what are their preferred lanes, what are their preferred rates, what are their minimum rates, all those kind of things, then the more likely you are able to respond and get a good match. Ask the right questions, find the best matches, then you can finalize your quotes, or if you need a formal proposal, maybe somebody says, hey, I got a bunch of these lanes, which you're hoping for. That's the ideal. Oh, okay, everyone gets excited. Wow, they gave you a big spreadsheet with all these locations and all these things, you get 50, 100. And then you start getting into rate mate or, some of the other regional reports that are out there, and you're trying to figure out, okay, well, looks like the last month or the last quarter, here's the average rates. But guys, you can't be successful quoting shipments to a shipper if you're only using those features that are in your load boards, those added upgrade features like rate mate and things like that, or the monthly or bi-weekly reports that come out that show what the average flatbed rates were in the Southeast or the Northwest, what the average, the high and the low ends were for refrigerated loads, because that's average. And you're never going to be successful throwing out average numbers because somebody doesn't want average. You need specific. Each shipper for a specific lane at a specific time, matching up with actual trucking companies that have said, sure, next time you get a good paying load, give me a call, send me an email, that you've gotten specific information from, so you know the lanes they're willing to travel or they already travel, and the kind of rates they're willing to move for. So you're never going to quote based on these average reports. It's nice to know. It's good information. You can kind of see maybe that you're in the range. Somebody throws out a number to you. What's the minimum you'd be willing to move for? Well, I'm not going to move for anything less than $3.75 a mile. Well, that's not true. You look at the average and you look over the last month and, the range is, they're way, way, way above the maximum. They're way, way, way above the average. So sometimes people will throw numbers out to you that aren't really what they'd be willing to do. So you can kind of use these reports to give you an idea. It helps you with supply and demand. What these reports are good for is they give you, for example, the reports that'll tell you, the average of trucks looking for loads versus loads that are available in certain areas. So you get an idea of supply and demand. And you kind of got an idea when you're talking to your trucking companies or with your shippers, say, yeah, I know you said that your target rate is X, but in this area, especially the last couple months, there's been way more trucks than there are shipments, or there has been way more loads than there are trucks. So I can appreciate that's your target rate, but reality is I got access to thousands of trucks, and almost none of them are willing to move for less than Y, whatever Y is, $3.25 a mile or whatever. So average reports, rate mates, those things are good, but if you rely on those to do quotes, you're playing a losing game. You got to get quotes from actual trucking companies and owner operators that they'd be willing to run a specific lane at a specific time for a specific rate. Then you're quoting the shipper an actual rate that you can follow up on and close and get a commitment on, because you've already had communications with a specific owner operator or a specific trucking company. You're not guessing, you're not hoping, you're not playing the averages. You are specific. You got a specific shipper with a specific shipment and all the details involved, and you've got at least an idea what they're willing to pay if they haven't specifically quoted you what they're willing to pay. And then you've got a specific trucking company, maybe more than one. Hopefully, when you get good at this and you do it long enough, you will have more than one trucking company that would be willing. It's nice when you can have 2 or 3 or 4 trucking companies in a certain area ready to go. Hey, and you can say, hey, Joe, you're one of several companies in the area that I know has trucks and typically is willing to move for X amount per mile. But I want to call you first to see if you had any available trucks that you need to get moving. Got any trucks that need a load? You've told me your target rate is $3.30 a mile or better. Well, I've got one that's paying right about that, $3.25 a mile. So I figured I'd check with you first. You interested, or do I need to go on one of my other trucking companies? Boom. That took about 20 seconds to say, 25 seconds, no more than 30 seconds. And it's a yes or no. Or, well, how far is it? They start asking questions. You give them the information because you've got the information. Well, it's about 1,000-mile, Greg. It's heading to St. Louis. It's about 40,000 pounds. It's this, it's that. Okay, I need to get a commitment as soon as I can. If it's not for you, that's okay. I figured I'd give you a shot. You said, I told you I would give you a call the next time I had a good paying load and let you know about it. Does this sound like something you'd be interested in or no? I don't know if I have a truck. That's fine. No problem. No pressure. Just thought I'd check with you because I told you I would. Hey, next time I get a good paying one, I'll give you a call back or I'll send you an email. Have a great day. Boom, on to the next one. Okay, no pressure. Now, it's only no pressure if you've got a whole bunch of trucks, a whole bunch of trucking companies. And that's obviously your first 30, 60 days, you may not have that many, but that's the goal. And that's the importance of each and every day contacting as many trucking companies as you can to build up that fleet. And you'd be surprised how quickly you build up a fleet, because one contact could get you 50 trucks. The next contact could get you 10. The next contract maybe just get you 1. It's an owner operator. Then the next one gets you 7. So if you're contacting 50 to 100 people every day, the numbers add up pretty quickly. That's the importance of the law of averages. So build your massive fleet of trucks. When you're making contacts with your shippers, get as much information as you can. And of course, when they're asking about getting quotes from you, make sure you get as much specific information as you can, including kind of a target rate or what they've been paying in the past. And then when an opportunity comes along, match up your database of trucks with that specific load opportunity. And when you actually give a quote, you probably almost know, you're 80 to 90% certain it's going to be accepted, because you knew ahead of time what the shipper was looking for or willing to do. You know what the carrier's looking for and willing to do. So it's a matter of formality then when you do the quote. And that's different than what most people do, the unsuccessful or the struggling people in the freight brokers business do. The people that struggle and maybe don't survive or become successful are the ones that guess and hope that when they throw out a quote, it's going to be something acceptable. you should never be guessing. Hope is a nice thing, but it's nothing here in the freight brokerage business. Don't guess, don't hope. No. Ask the right questions, make notes, build your databases, so when you make quotes, you will know they are likely to get accepted because you did your homework.